Video. So we've got a couple of topics that we're going to go over today, including how to get your first sales. I'm going to talk about products and the different kinds. We're going to talk about how to free up your time, which is going to be hopefully pretty helpful for you so you can get away from one-on-ones. And then finally, the stages of business growth. This is something that I've never heard anyone teach, and a lot of my students ask me for this. So I'm going to talk about the different metrics you need to hit so you can scale and hit 5, 6, 7 figures and realistic timelines for that. Now, before I jump in, by the way, who the heck am I? I just hit my microphone, so excuse me for that. But this is me down here, and I started out in 2011. I was working in Hollywood, so I worked on a bunch of movies, and like Lord of the Rings. That's the one that everybody really loves. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Iron Man, Fast and Furious, blah, 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 blah. And during my 15 years in Hollywood, near the end of my career, people started asking me to mentor them. And that led to me recognizing that I was trading my time for money, right? I needed to automate what I was doing. And so I was poking around and I looked at, I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And the richest people in the world were IP creators. People. And since I was from Hollywood, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And if you don't know what that is, you're like, IP? What's an IP? Mike, that's intellectual property. So that's where you create something profound and that people want, and then because you did the work once, you get paid forever from it. Now, in our space, in the expert space, that means creating a unique process. I call it the extraordinary process. Classic example of that is going to be Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you don't know his story, he was a business consultant and he wrote this framework about the 7 habits, and that blew him up, and he's since unfortunately passed away, but his company lives on. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, all based off his extraordinary process. So it's pretty powerful when you have that. We're going to get into that. So back to me, I was working in Hollywood. People started asking me to mentor them. I recognized I needed to find a way to automate my time, and I got into online course creation and being an expert, all this fun stuff. And due to the success of that, people started asking me, hey, Mike, can you help me with my business? And I said, oh my gosh, that's not really what I do. But reluctantly, kicking and screaming, I became a marketing and branding coach. And now I'm here to help you. So if you have any more questions about me specifically, you can drop a comment. Otherwise, without further ado, let's dive into the training. Now, before we actually jump in, if you want the summary of what I'm teaching today, so you don't have to sit there and scribble notes, then just type me in the comments below and my team will reach out to you and get you access to the summary. Cool? I think it'll probably be a Google Doc that we'll give you, right? So you can just take that Google Doc and copy it into your account and export it as a PDF. I like to keep it simple over here at the Visionary Planner. Okay, so if you want the summary, just type me. Okay, let's get into the first training. This is going to be how to get your first sales. Now, if you're in the expert space, that means you're a coach, you're a consultant, you're a service provider, you've got really awesome penmanship like myself, then you want to be selling products consistently. Now, basically, your business should look like this. You should be having marketing or messaging that's going out. That's going to drive people into your sales pipeline, right? And you need a very clear sales process. And then you need to actually have the offer that you'll fulfill. So think of it as a 1, 2, 3 step process. That's really all your business needs to be. I know there's a million different hats you have to wear. It's very overwhelming. I know from experience running a business. But if you can kind of chunk it down and think about these 3 main things you need to do, then you're going to be doing pretty well. And the good news is once that offer is built, then your ongoing is going to be sales and marketing. And you can do your marketing in like a day, a month, and your sales, that's just going to be ongoing. So what we want to do is get your first sales. If you're not yet at the 10K mark, then that's your first metric you want to hit. Now, 10K is really important because at 10K, you can quit your day job and make your business your main thing. And if your business is your main thing currently and you're not yet hitting 10K a month consistently, then you've got a big problem. So let's really aim for that. Once you do that, you can scale. It all gets easier once you can have that metric locked down and solid. Now, in order to get your first sales, what we need to do is have what I call a cash flow offer. So cash flow offer. Now, this is also in the industry known as high ticket. Some people call it premium offer, but basically it's anything that's going to be $2,500 or up, because you should get paid to do what you love and attract clients that pay you what you're worth and aren't, I don't want to be crass, but if you don't charge enough, you're gonna attract crappy clients who really take advantage of your time. They complain, they get refunds, they have, they're victims basically. You don't want that. So you want to be able to charge premium prices for a premium service. Now, better than $2,500. Now with inflation going on, that should really be $3,500, because you get 3 people at $3,500, you just made $10,500. Now I'm not going to embarrass myself doing math because I'm an artist, but I'm just going to calculate that, make sure I'm right. Yes, look at that. My mom would be so proud of me. She taught kindergarten, and that's pretty simple math. I'm glad I could do it without my fancy lime green calculator. So if you got an offer that's $3,500 and you get 3 sales a month, you've just made over 10K. Now, in a typical close rate, you're looking at 20%. So 20% of people that get on a call with you, because that's how you have to sell a high ticket offer, cash flow offer. You have to get them on a sales call. So if you close 1 out of 5, that's 20%, and you get 15 people on your call roster per month, and you close 20% of them, you get 3 sales, and you just made over 10K. Pretty awesome. Not a lot of people. It's not a lot of work to get 15 calls. Trust me. So that should really, again, be your main metric that you want to go with. Now, what are the types? There's 3 types of offers. So let me just go over these real quick. I'm going to kind of do a little placeholder now. So think of it this way. If you're selling information, then what you're going to have, ultimately, the basis of what you're doing is going to be your course, right? The course needs to be built on your process. So I'm going to get into this later. Actually, the next training I'm going to do in this session, or if you're watching just a clip of this, we'll link to the next training. But I call this your extraordinary process. Extraordinary. I'm running out of space here. Extraordinary process. This becomes the heart of your brand. So if you think of your brand as your process, and I'll get into this coming up, but just suffice to say, if you've been stuck and struggling and you're overwhelmed on what content to create or how to, what offers to make, when you've got your process dialed in, it tells you exactly what offers to make and what content to put out there to sell the offers. So it's pretty powerful. And based off that, you can have concentric rings of content. So you can have an ebook, you can have a real book, you can have a webinar, you can have social media posts, right? All of that stems from having that process. And again, I'll get into the process down the road. But suffice to say that you need to have a unique process that you're going to walk your clients through to take them from where they are now to where they want to be. I call this the now to wow. So your process delivers the now to wow in a particular time frame, right? So like for me, I've got a 5-month coaching program, accountability program, that's going to take people from now, which is stuck and struggling, how do I figure out how to get my brand online and hit that 10K a month mark, to wow, which is hitting that 10K a month mark and being confident in scaling and then reinvesting profits into running ads and hiring a team and really taking this thing to the next level so you can free your time up. So that's 5 months to go from now to wow. So like another example is if you're doing weight loss, you might say now is having no energy, being depressed because you're overweight, to wow is you've lost that weight, you feel great, you feel excited, you've got better relationships with people, you're doing better at work, right? You're making more money. So all these great benefits happen when you go from now to wow. And then if I was Mike the weight loss coach and it was helping people lose 15 pounds, I would want to put a time frame to be lose 15 pounds in 8 weeks. So I'm not a weight loss coach, so that may be completely unhealthy, but you get the idea. You want to have a process that walks them from now to wow in a time frame. And once we have that, we can bundle that up into your offer. So that the steps to do that is your course. So if we layer on onto the course other things, we have group coaching. We can also have one-on-one calls. I call these milestone calls because as people move through the steps or the categories in your process, that's when at a higher price point, which is this cash flowing offer, that's when they're going to have calls with you just only when they've accomplished something that you need a review, right? If you've been doing one-on-one calls, let's say you sell somebody on 12 call. I just talked to just onboarded a client a couple days ago, and they were selling like 12 one-on-one calls. And what would happen is the clients would not show up for calls, right? They'd reschedule, and then they're getting into this scheduling conflict, or they'd show up on the calls and they have nothing to go over. And it doesn't serve the clients. It's also a big waste of your time. So if you're just endlessly doing one-on-one calls, we need to get you out of that mode and get you into this mode where your offer does the work, right? Your course, which is containing the process, is doing the work. And then your clients are only having those one-on-ones when they have something for you to review, right? It's not the best use of your time to just have all these one-on-ones with people. Whereas the group coaching lets you leverage your time, and you can also bring a coach in who knows your process, so they're doing the group coaching. So getting back to this, when you have your course that's baked, that's showing people how to get your process done, and then you add in group coaching and possibly one-on-ones, and then possibly like a service, like some sort of done for you or done with you service, that's when you can have a really solid offer. So those are sort of the ingredients of making an offer. Now, the three types of offers that make that up are going to be the course plus coaching, right? Group coaching. And that might have like that $3,500 price point. Next is going to be the course plus coaching plus the one-on-one stuff, right? The one-on-one calls plus accountability coaching. So when you're just starting out, you're going to want to be the accountability coach for your clients. But as you scale, you're going to want to hire a coach, and they're kind of the concierge at this high ticket level. And they're the concierge for your clients, because that's not something you want to be managing. You'll still be doing the one-on-one because they're paying for your expertise, but they're not paying for you necessarily to hold their hand through the process. So that's the second level. And this lets you get up to like a $6,500 mark. Or if you're in the business space, then that can be like the 10K mark, right? And if you're in the business space, this might be like a 5,000 to 6,000 mark. So it really depends on your niche. Obviously, if you're in a business space where you're showing people how to make money with their business, whether you're doing marketing or sales or whatever it is, then you can charge more because there's an ROI, there's higher value, higher return on investment for them investing in you. And then finally is a service. So we talked about the service up here. That would be the third type of offer. And you can have a hybrid of all of these, but kind of the sweet spot for me is going to be launching in this space with an upsell to a service. So let's say you're Bob, the social media manager, and you don't necessarily have a course you're going to walk your clients through, but you have a service. So what that would look like is you would have your onboarding system. And that would be letting the client know timelines, expectations, what it's like to work with you, and what assets they need to give you so you guys can start doing whatever the setup is. So onboarding, so the setup could be done. So again, if it's social media management that is the service you're providing, then what that would look like is clients would go through, they'd watch automated videos, and at the end of that, they would know exactly what ingredients they need to give you so that they can hand it over to your team, and your team can go and start doing the audience audit or rebranding their social media sites or whatever. So you've built that foundation, that setup for them, that then you can sell them into monthly continuity with them. So that's how services are really great. That's how I like to teach people to do services, is design it as a setup period, 1 month to set you up and get you ready to do social media. And then you can sell them on the back end to continuity. Or you can just sell them into a package, 3 months of setup and content publishing. And then after that, continuity after that. So those are the three types of offers. If you have any questions about that, leave a comment. Happy to make another video and go deeper. I'm just kind of trying to give you a 30,000-foot view of all of this. So going back to the sales, here's what you need. You need to have content and messaging going out. You need to have your sales process, which typically is going to be a call funnel. Now, if you're in the niche where, like I got a couple clients that are in a very small little niche. So it doesn't make sense to run ads and just have a volume of people going through their call funnel. So they don't need to, which is good news for them, because they don't need to do a big robust funnel. They can have just a very simple one, right? So we can kind of hack the time it takes to create these things if you're in an uber small niche. So we want to have the call funnel, and then we want to have the actual call script going out. And then finally, you want to have your offer. So as I mentioned, you want to have your onboarding, and then you want to have whatever the course is going to be. So if you're a service provider, you may not have a course. Like I have a lot of clients come to me and they're financial advisors, and there's not really a course they can have their clients do. I guess they can have like topics, how to plan your estate or something like that, right? So that's going to be more of a setup. So those are the three elements you need. You need the messaging, you need the sales process, and you need the offer. And if you're just starting from scratch and you don't have any of this, then what you need to do is have your messaging be more organic, where you're just going into other people's Facebook groups and you're just building relationships. You're not linking out to anything. You're not soliciting. You're just basically like providing value in the group. And just by providing value in groups, people are naturally going to like DM you. And that's where you can kind of peel them off, diagnose if they have a problem, prescribe the solution, which is to jump on a call with you, so you can then walk them through your process and pitch your offer. So again, if you're just starting out, don't worry about building funnels or anything like that. Just literally go into other people's groups, or go to live events. That's also great, or do speaking gigs, something like that. So you're in front of people where you can demonstrate your authority and your expertise and help people, like solve people's problems for them, kind of solving problems in advance, giving them a sample of what you do, and then you can book them onto a short call with you, right? So you don't need a call funnel, anything like that yet. You can just have like a Calendly event, right? Calendly is the service I use to book calendar calls. And then at that point, you get them on the call, you walk them through your process, and again, the now to wow process we talked about before, you just walk them through that, right? So for Visionary Planner, I've got an 8-step business building process. So when people get on calls with my team, we just walk them through our process. And then if they need help implementing that, we tell them about our program. And if they're like, this is cool, I figure it out on my own, then they can figure it out on their own. I only want to work with people that need my help. So that's how that works. And then again, if you're just starting out, then you're going to have your offer should just be a series of one-on-one calls. Now, I know I said it before, you want to get away from one-on-one calls unless it's very targeted. But when you're just beginning, we call this the focus group offer. So if you're just launching your offer for the first time, you want to get a group of beta testers in there, and you want to get paid in advance before you've actually made your offer, right? You don't want to spend months and months and months building the perfect course only to find that nobody wants it. So rather, you want to do your best getting your messaging out there, get people on that call with you, and then on the call, you're going to pitch your offer. And if they pay you in advance, then you just basically through a bunch of Zoom calls, you just do live trainings with people, work through the material, and then once you get that material really working well, right? Clients are clear on it, they're getting results, you've cut all the fat out of it, then you can go and build what I call the evergreen version of that, right? So that's where it's the actual course where you've got nice videos, and you've got nice handouts and everything. But when you're just starting out and you just want to get your first sales, do not waste any time on any of this. Just go straight to messaging, get people on the call so you can do your sales process, walk them through your extraordinary process. That's the process that gets them there now to wow. And then make that offer to them and then fulfill it by just doing Zoom calls until you work the bugs out. All right, so that's the very first thing you should focus on. And yeah, like I had a client a couple days ago, and he was like, "Oh, Mike, I just spent 2 weeks on my web page, and I was stuck in the tech." And I was like, "Listen, is that moving you towards any sales?" He goes, No. I said, "Stop doing all of that and just go out there and get people on a call with you. Do whatever you need to do to get them on a call. Walk them through your process, and then if they need help, pitch your offer." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, yes, you're right. Why did I screw around with all this other stuff?" So don't let anything distract you. Just focus on getting your messaging out there, getting people on calls, and then pre-selling that offer. And then once they've bought it, then fulfill it in the most easy, straightforward manner which is just get them on calls and walk them through your process and help them every step of the way. All right, that's it for this on how to get your first sale. So if you have any questions about that, or you want us to help you and walk you through it, let me go to the next slide. So if you need help figuring out what that is, like really dialing in what a game plan is for you to get your first offer out there and at least hit that 10K a month mark consistently, then I invite you to go to mlmurph.com/get help, or you can just visit thevisionaryplanner.com, and there's lots of ways, lots of little buttons on there where you can book a call with us and just see, learn more about our process and see if it's going to help you hit your goals. Cool? All right. That said, let's jam over to the next training. So I want to talk about now how to free up your time. First, I'm going to get a delicious drink of tea. All right, how to free up your time. Now, what most experts do, and I kind of mentioned this in the previous training, most experts do a bunch of one-on-one sessions, right? So let's say you're a personal trainer. You're just selling your time, and client doesn't show up, client reschedules. I know I have a personal trainer, and because I got little kids, half the time they're sick, and half the time I'm like, hey man, they were up all night and I got 4 hours of sleep. I'm not working out at 7 in the morning. So my poor personal trainer does not have predictable income from me because my life is unpredictable. So when you're doing one-on-one, you're in that unpredictability stage. So what we instead need to do is have our cash flow offer built where people are paying X amount for a experience with you that lasts for a certain time frame. Like, so for example, at Visionary Planner, we've got a 5-month accountability program, and the timeline's very clear and the deliverables are very clear. So at the end of that time, our goal is that you sell 3 cash flow offers, and that's going to validate your offer. So when you're making your cash flow offer, you want to make sure that there's a clear time frame to get a very clear result. Again, with Visionary Planner, our result that you know that you've done everything the right way when you get 3 sales of your cash flow offer, because that validates your offer. So you need to really look at your market and determine what do they want. So if you're doing weight loss, for example, just it's a good example to give. So people are here and they want to be here. So you want to look at that and say, okay, my average client, how long does it, let's say the average client wants to lose 15 pounds. So how long does it take the average client? Let's just say it takes them 90 days to safely lose 15 pounds. Well, now you know what your offer is going to be. It's going to be, let's say it's $3,500. $3,500 to lose 15 pounds, measurable outcome in 90 days. So once you can do that, then your offer, let me clear all this off. Your offer is going to be the thing that frees up your time, because you're not selling one-on-ones anymore. You're selling a process that gets them that outcome in that time frame. And whether the client shows up or not, because let's be real, you have people, they decide to work with you and then they ghost you, or life gets in the way, right? And they don't, whatever happens. So if you're selling like a bundle of 12 one-on-one sessions with you and they're constantly canceling or rescheduling, then that 12 sessions might drag on for 2 years, right? You don't want that. That's not scalable for you. That's not predictable for you. You want to basically say, hey, Bob, you just paid me $3,500 for my 90-day program. And that means I'm going to be on hand over the next 90 days to serve you. But if you don't show up, then just like if you book a hotel room, if you don't show up, they don't give you a refund because they weren't able to sell that room to anyone else. So Bob is retaining your time for a specific amount of time to get the result. And it's up to Bob, because he's invested a lot of money, hopefully because he's put a lot of money in. He's going to show up and do the work and get the transformation you're providing. So the way your time gets freed in that is you've got your offer, which is typically going to be some sort of course. And that course, let's say you've got a 5-step process. So let's just say it's 5 steps to lose 15 pounds in 90 days. So Bob is going to pay you. And what's going to happen is Bob's going to come in and he's going to go through the onboarding. that you're going to build out. And if you work with us at Visionary Planner, we'll give you all the templates and everything to build this out for you. And Bob's going to get onboarded. So Bob's clear on the timelines of working with you, the costs, right? What are the other costs for Bob to lose weight? Well, he's going to have to buy a yoga mat and a gym membership and a water bottle, whatever, right? So you want to make it very clear for Bob to go and get that and order on Amazon, provide links. And then Bob should also book a one-on-one onboarding call with you or your accountability coach. And what other things in onboarding? If there's any things that Bob needs to submit, like let's say you're doing financial planning or something like that, or in your business coaching, maybe they have to submit their P&L sheet or whatever, right? So all the info you need up front to serve Bob and get Bob that result, that all happens in onboarding, and onboarding is all pre-recorded. So you can confidently sell Bob, send Bob to your cart checkout page. It's all automated. Bob buys. Bob goes through the onboarding. Bob also gets automated emails. At this point, you've put in zero time, right? You've freed your time just with that onboarding. And then Bob's going to go through your course, and Bob's going to watch the pre-recorded videos, check out the pre-created worksheets, and at the end of each of the steps or the categories, and let me just stop for a sec. Visionary Planner, for example, because we're showing you how to get a specific result, it's a step-by-step process. Well, you might be in a niche where step-by-step isn't applicable. So let's say you're doing weight loss. Well, it's not really applicable to be like, okay, step 1, go have a breakfast smoothie. Step 2, go and work out for 20 minutes. Step 3, stretch. Step 4, journal, right? And then the next day, rinse and repeat. It becomes overwhelming with all those different, it's like a million steps to hit the goal. So instead, you would just want to have categories. So it might be, hey, if you want to lose 15 pounds in 90 days, first category to think about is mindset. And in mindset, you can have a couple of different steps. The second category to think about is exercise routines. So you might have 10 different exercise routines you teach people. The third category is going to be nutrition. So you might have different meal plans or help customize a meal plan for them. So that's why I say there's either categories or steps. And it really comes down to what does your client want and how do you best serve them. But getting back, whether it's categories or steps, what you need to do is have touch points. So I'm going to use the step example, but it also applies if it's categories. So at the end of step 1, let's say this is, again, if I'm going back to lose 15 pounds in 90 days, maybe step 1 is sort of do like an assessment of where you're at. So Bob might watch the video that's like, okay, Bob, first thing you do is go onto the scale and see what your weight is, and then write it down in this worksheet. And then the next video would be, all right, Bob, the next thing you need to do is go and take a picture of your cabinet so I can see all the foods you're eating and then mail that to me. The third thing, right, so each step has a little video. And Bob, at this point, because it's all pre-recorded, you've spent zero time on Bob. Zero time on Bob. But at the end of that step or the end of that category, right, so let's say you're doing the category of mindset, right? So maybe at the end of that category or halfway through, they have to do some journaling work and they're going to take a picture of their journal page and send it to you. So basically, long story short, you want to engineer one-on-one milestone calls or step calls with you. So the client only has a call with you when they've achieved a milestone and you need to review it. So instead of having all these one-on-one calls, so instead of selling if it's a 90-day program, that's 12 weeks. So instead of selling a bundle of 12 calls and it goes on, and then the client's fired up, so they show up for the first one, they're a little late for the second one, they totally missed the third one, and then they need to reschedule it, and that doesn't happen, and the whole thing goes to crap, so to speak. Instead of that, now they're coming through, your time's totally freed up, and they're only booking that one-on-one call with you when they have something for you to review. And instead of it being an hour where you're teaching them and mindsetting them and all of that, now it's like a 25-minute call where they're just jumping on, presenting the work to you, you're laser coaching them, and you know that they're moving through your process and getting results. And then at that point, they go to this next step. So step 2, same thing, they watch bite-sized videos, they have worksheets, and they submit something that is very tangible and measurable for you to review. So instead of having, in this scenario, 12 one-hour calls, which is 12 hours of your time, Now what we're doing is we're selling, because you got a 5-step program, we're selling 5 25-minute calls, which is what that's like 2.5 hours, right? And I'll be frank with you, not all your clients are going to get through the whole program and take up all that time. So what would you rather sell? Somebody on 12 1-hour sessions with you, where there's lots of rescheduling, there's lots of just sitting around because the client didn't do anything. Oh, I'm sorry, life got in the way, right? Just a lot of awkwardness. Or for the same amount of money or more money, because there's a higher perceived value, because you've got a process now, not just a bundle of calls. Now you're basically charging double, and you're working, what is that, 1/5 of the time or less? I mean, you tell me, but I'll tell you from experience, this works. It's easier to sell. People feel a lot more confident because you've got a process you're walking them through, and ultimately your time is freed up. Now, if we want to take this to the next level, after you do this and you get like 20 to 30 clients through and you've worked all the bugs out and you're consistently getting income coming in, then what you can do is you can hire a coach and you teach them your process. And now that coach, who is well-versed in your process, because you're selling the process, you're not selling one-on-one with you. Now that coach is doing the calls and you're off playing golf or whatever tickles your, hanging out with the kids, whatever tickles your fancy. You're not working in the business anymore. So that's how we free up our time. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight. I wish I could wave a magic wand and have it happen overnight. That's just not reality. But after you put the hard work in, it dramatically frees your time. So I'll tell you a quick story. When I launched my first company, it was an animation training company where I was showing groups of about 10, 18 to 22-year-olds. So a very difficult group of people to educate. So I was getting 10 students, these college kids, 10 of them to group together and make a short animated film, which is pretty much impossible. And that was an 8-month program. And building that program took me 9 months. And that was like insane. That was like 12 hours, 6 days a week, right? Just absolutely bonkers. But once it was done, I literally, because I built systems, and this is all the stuff I teach in the Visionary Planner, because it was all systemized, I was literally working like 4 to 10 hours a month, because I only had connections with my students where it was leverage points where I could actually give them results. I hired an in-house person to run everything, right? If I didn't have somebody working 40 hours a week, then I would be working the 40 hours a week. But I had the money coming in, and I had a very clear process to follow, so I could have an employee operating everything and dealing with, just scheduling and all that. And then all I did was high-level stuff, where I'd come in and review the students' work, and then I'd have a group call with them where they each got like 10 minutes. Each team leader got 10 minutes to come in and ask me a question. So that's how I was able to free my time up massively and work like, 1 to 2 days a month, right? Because I also designed it that every other week I would have a call with the students and actually do the work. So like I was basically retired. It was really awesome. And that's what freed my time up to develop Visionary Planner. So that is how you free your time in a nutshell. And let me clean off my screen. So if you need some help on that, or you have any questions on that, then I invite you to go over to mlmurph.com/get-help. Or you can just visit thevisionaryplanner.com and you can schedule time with my team, and we'll answer any questions you have, and then also walk you through our process so you can do everything I just talked about previously in this video. Cool? Okay, that's that. All right. Now, let's talk about the stages of business growth. This is something that very few people talk about. I don't know why, but coaches, I've never heard a coach really talk about this. So I'm going to talk about it. Maybe I'm crazy for revealing all this to you, but I want to be very practical and tangible for you. So let's assume you're just starting out. You're making no money. You're actually probably losing money, right? You're probably losing like 1 to 2K a month because you're paying for services. You've probably got like ClickFunnels and Kajabi and this MailChimp, right? You got all this stuff that just costing you money and you have no idea what to do with it. So that's probably where you're starting out. Well, what our first goal is going to be is hitting 10K a month, right? So you want to consistently hit 10K a month, and I like the number 3. So if you can consistently hit 10K a month 3 months in a row, you know it's consistent, that's stable, then you can move to the next stage, which I'll talk about in a second. So what we're looking at 10K a month, we're looking at you selling 3 of your programs that, or a minimum of 3, if you've got like a $3,500 price point. Now, if you've built a rock solid offer that solves an urgent problem, that's exactly what your audience wants, and you've got a lot of trust built into your marketing, then this should not be a problem at all. And that's the low end. Like if you're in the business space, you just need to sell one person at 10 in a 10K package, right? Pretty basic. So the average sales closing rate, meaning in order to sell something over $2,000, you have to get somebody on a call with you, right? And it's not like a high pressure sales call. It's where you're just basically walking somebody through your process. I've talked about this earlier, but that's a process to take somebody from now to wow. So if this is weight loss, now they're here, wow, they've lost the weight, like pretty simple. So you want to take them through now to wow in a particular time frame. So if you get somebody on that sales call, you're basically just walking them through your process to take somebody through now to wow, right? The 5 steps to lose 15 pounds in 90 days, whatever it's going to be. And then at the end of that, because you're offering a lot of value, at the end of that, you're like, hey, if you need help implementing this, let me know. I got a program. And people are either going to be like, yeah, that sounds great, or I can figure it out on my own, right? So either way, you gave them value on the call. So don't think of sales calls as like used car salesman stuff. It's really just providing value. I like to think of it as you're like a doctor. So if you're a doctor and somebody comes to you and they got like lung cancer or something horrible, right? You're not going to let them leave your office without giving them a prescription for something like, oh my gosh, we got to give you these drugs, or we got to get you into surgery, right? It's your ethical duty to serve that person and help them. Now they can of course reject it and be like, no, I'm a Christian Scientist and I don't want any medicine, or oh my gosh. So it's your job. So the same is here. If you've got people coming to you and they've got an urgent problem, it's your duty to help them solve it. So that's what that call really is. It's just providing value. So I just want to get that out of the way. So if you typically on a call, and this is on a conservative low end, you should be closing 20% of people. So if you're going to sell one offer at 10K, then you're going to have 5 sales calls, and on average, you'll get 1 sale out of that. If you've got 3 sales, 3,500 to hit 10K or a little over 10K, then you're going to need 15 calls to get 3 of them. So you can see the numbers. So in order to hit 10K a month, first thing you need to do is look at the competition and understand what is the going rate for a high ticket premium cash flowing offer in your niche. So again, it's going to start typically around 3,500 and it can go all the way up to like 100K, right? Depending on, if you're doing like complete brand makeover for a 8-figure company, you're the super branding specialist, then people will probably pay 100K, or, you get the idea. So it really depends on you, but these are kind of the general numbers. So the first thing you want to do is figure out how many units do you need to sell to hit 10K a month, and then how many calls need to happen to make that, to hit that. So if we're saying that your product's going to be a $3,500 product, you need to have 3 sales to hit 10K. That means your main metric to go for is getting 15 calls per month, which is like 15. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna embarrass myself doing math. 15 divided by 4 is 3 to 4 calls a week. You can totally, without running ads, without having a massive list, without just sweating away, you can easily get 3 to 4 calls booked a week if you're providing a lot of value. And the value comes from having a very clear process. So remember, again, that's the steps to take them from now to wow. If you can do that, you're gold. So that's our first metric we want to hit. Now, when you're doing this, you're basically a solopreneur. You might have like a VA, somebody overseas who's a lower hourly wage, and they're going to be helping you with kind of more remedial tasks, right? Stuff that, like posting stuff, like you write content and they actually schedule it on social media, or they're helping send reminders out if people book calls with you, right? But nothing major. So basically at this point, it's pretty much all you. Let me just clean all this off. Hold on. I'm going to redraw this. 0 to 10K. So that's anywhere from 1 to 3 sales a month, and you're pretty much at this point, you're pretty much solopreneur. The next level we want to hit is 30K. So that's anywhere from 3 to 9 sales per month. And at this point, you're still the solopreneur. You're still pretty much doing everything else. And you can get to the 30K a month just by doing just good old-fashioned reaching out to people, building relationships. You don't need to worry about ads or anything yet. Now, if you want, because now you're making 30K a month, you're doing good, you can and you should be starting the ads, right? Or let's not call it ads. Let's say lead gen, because there's lots of different ways to generate lead. There's cold email prospecting. There's actually like Facebook ads, Facebook IG ads. There's now TikTok ads. There's Google ads, Google/YouTube, right? There's speaking. You can have your own podcast. There's a lot of way to do lead gen, but that you're either going to pay with your money or your time. So in the beginning, when you're just trying to hit 10K, you're just going straight to where people are congregating, and you're trying to offer value and get them onto calls and sell them. But as you creep closer to the 30K, you want to start reinvesting your money so you can free your time up, because only so many hours in the day, into lead gen. And for me with lead gen, it took me about 6 months. I got pretty good marketing, but it took me about 6 months to consistently dial that in. So I had consistently, my metric was 50 calls per month. So to get to that point, it took about 6 months. So don't think naively, I'll just run ads and magically I'll have a million calls. There's a long road of making sure you have a message to market fit. So just so you know, it doesn't happen overnight. So give yourself 3 months minimum. 6 months is really a little more realistic, which means when you're at that, when you're hovering between 10 and 30K, you want to start worrying about lead gen, knowing it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to crack the code in a weekend. So keep that in mind. So all of this up until now, you're pretty much a solopreneur. You're probably outsourcing, as you creep closer to 30K, you're outsourcing the lead gen. And like I mentioned before, you want to hit this mark for a minimum of 3 months. 1 could be a fluke, 2 could be a coincidence, but 3 months in a row where you're hitting that metric, you pretty much have a very validated pattern, right? Things are working for you. So that's the solopreneur phase of being an expert. Then we want to get to the expand phase. And your next metric is really hitting 50K a month. Now at 50K a month in an average market, you're looking at spending anywhere from 10 to 15K just on lead gen, right? So that's going to take so the problem is the minute you go over the 30K mark, you're sort of like hitting a ceiling, because now, even though you're making more money, you're spending a lot more on lead gen. And plus you're going to probably spend like anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month on the ad rep, right? The person running your ads. So let's just round that up and say 20K is being spent to make 50K, which kind of sucks. So you might be like, why don't I just stay at 30K? Well, that's fine. A lot of people just stay, hover in this range, and they stay solopreneurs, and they have a unique boutique at-home business, and that's great. But if you do want to hit the next level so you can start hitting the 6, 7, 8-figure mark, this is what it's going to look like. So know that when you go from 30 to 50K, your revenue stays the same because you're having to put more into the ads. But what you can do at that point is you can hire a sales team. So that's going to be a setter and a closer. Now, a couple of years ago, it was when ads were a lot cheaper and your profit margins were a lot higher. You didn't need that. But now it's gotten so competitive that you're going to need at the very least, a setter with you doing closing. But typically, if you want to expand your time and really, really build your business up higher, you're going to want to outsource sales completely. But in-house, you don't want to hire a third-party service. That's always, from my experience, that's always been not awesome, right? So you want to do that in-house. So now at this point, you've got a team that's commissioned, so they're going to eat up 15%. So now, even though you're making 50K, you're dropping really down to 30K. But your time's freed. So there's a trade-off. And because now you've got a full sales team that's usually commission-based, right? So you're not paying them a salary. Although the setter, like we pay our setters, but our closers are typically commission-based. So even though your time's freed up, you're making less money, but that gives you more time to go and expand your business, put more content out there, and scale. So once you hit the 50K mark and you've got the setter, the closer, and you're doing a lot more content marketing, now you can easily hit the 100 to 250K mark, right? And that's pretty achievable with one setter and one closer. If you want to go beyond that, right? But at this point, now you've got a team, so you're going to probably have to hire another coach. You're definitely going to want to hire like some sort of office manager, or like I hired a COO, a chief operating officer, so they can make sure that all the systems I built are running. So you want to make sure that all of that's in play before you go and you start scaling to that. Because the worst thing that can happen is you're like, oh, I'll just put more money on ads and I'll get more clients. But if you don't have the fulfillment system built, those clients have an awful experience with you, and now you're getting refunds and bad reviews. So you want to be very strategic, and you want to hit each of these levels and maintain it for a minimum of 3 months before you worry about hitting the next level. And you always want to know what level is coming up so you can plan ahead. So when you're at that 30K mark and you're like maybe in month 2 of that and you're anticipating you're going to do well in month 3, that's the time to start finding that setter, to start taking the call scheduling off your plate. And then once that setter's doing well, then you want to get the closer, and you want to start thinking about next steps and hiring people and getting your social media team and all this, right? So if you are a solopreneur, here's the good news. If you're in the solopreneur stage, embrace it. I've got little kids, and think of it like this. So if we do solopreneur and then not, so this is the solo. At this stage, your business is like a cute little baby. There's a little baby in a diaper, right? It's like a cute little baby. It's easy to deal with. It's not talking back. It just wants to cuddle with you. It's going to eat up a lot of your time, right? It's just taking up all of your time, but it's rewarding. As you get to the expand phase, now the business is basically like a kid. It's like walking and feeding itself and doing all that, but you have all these other responsibilities that are happening. So while the business itself is kind of operating because you've got team members doing stuff, you're constantly having to like drive the kids to soccer practice or whatever, right? So your time isn't necessarily freed up, and you've got a lot more stress and a lot more overhead costs. So enjoy the time when you're in the solopreneur phase to really just savor everything, because I'm telling you from experience, when you get to this phase, it's like infinitely more stressful and infinitely more risky until you get to the point where you're consistently hitting 100K months and something, and then you've got a full team and they're really putting the fires out. But kind of between these two, there's a lot of fires to put out. So enjoy that. That's my 2 cents on that. All right, that is it for that. Let me change my pen and go down. As always, if you have any questions about that, you need help on any of this, you're like, hey, Mike, can you walk me through that again? Then just book a time with my team. Go to mlmurph.com/get help, and we're more than happy to answer any questions and walk you through anything that wasn't quite clear. Now, I just want you to keep in mind that you got this. If you're just starting out or you've been in the business for a while and stuck and struggling, I know that a lot of my clients come to me and they're like, Mike, I wish I found out about you like 3 years ago, because I was trying to, I hired this coach and they promised me amazing results, like get 10 clients a week, didn't deliver, or I went and I ran Facebook ads, didn't work, right? Or I did this seminar, or this mastermind or whatever, and didn't get any results. What's going on for you is you didn't have a full process to follow. You didn't have the A to Z roadmap, just like I've mapped out, where every step of the way, you know exactly what you need to be focusing on and you know what's going to happen next. So I encourage you to really understand the 8-step process that I've developed, and you can go to visionaryplanner.com and check that out. But once you have that process, you're going to feel completely confident and clear on what to focus on right now, and that's going to massively save up your time, right? The most precious thing we have is time. So that's really my goal with Visionary Planners. It's going to save you a bunch of time where you don't have to figure things out on your own, and also you don't have to do this on your own. I've mentioned a lot solopreneur, right? If you're trying to do this all on your own, I know firsthand how overwhelming and stressful it is. And then also not having the complete picture of what you need to build. You're constantly having to cherry pick different ideas from different people. None of it plays well together. And since you've never done it before, you have no idea what order, what's the right order to do all that in. So again, I encourage you to go check out our 8-step process. Go to visionaryplanner.com. But once you have that, the world is going to open up for you because you're going to have total laser focus. I like to say, like, this is you, and you want to climb to the top of the mountain, and at the top of that mountain, you've got time freedom. You're working with people who love you, right? So they're paying you what you're worth, and you're making an impact. You're actually having clients say, thank you so much. This was so helpful. So I want to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And when you follow a proven process, and you've got a community like the people that we've got gathered with Visionary Planner. So if you're in our Facebook group, then just please leverage the people in there. Then you've got this. And I know it's not going to be easy when you're going up the mountain. There's bears and avalanches and all these crazy things happening. But your passion to get to the top of the mountain so you can get the time freedom and you can get the income coming in and you can get the impact. If your passion's strong enough, then you're definitely going to get there. But just take it one step at a time. Don't get sidetracked. Don't second guess yourself. Just have laser focus. I'm getting to the top of that mountain peak, and step by step, you're going to get there. So that's it for today. Now, once again, if you want the summary of all of this stuff, then just let me clean off my screen. Then just drop a comment. Just type me in the comments below, and my team or myself will reach out and DM you and give you access to that summary PDF. Cool? All right. I had a great time making this session for you. So again, if you have any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, go get the summary. And if you want to speak to us, you go book a call with us. And that's it. Mike Murphy signing off.